AuDHD is someone who's been diagnosed with autism and ADHD. It was believed for a long time that people couldn't have multiple diagnosis of ADHD and autism at the same time. It was believed that you could only have one or the other. And I think that the reasoning for this is because they can be on quite far ends of the scale in terms of symptoms, and they are almost polar opposites of each other. So it was believed that if a person had one of these diagnosis, they couldn't have the other. But I think that this is a big reason why a lot of people have been undiagnosed or misdiagnosed, and I want to talk about it today as someone who is AuDHD. To be very clear, I officially have a diagnosis of autism, but I got my diagnosis through work privately. They paid because I'd been on the list on the NHS for a few years and probably would have been waiting many more years. Work suspected I had autism. The doctors obviously already suspected I had autism, and so did I. But when the work put it through, they put the assessment through, or the request, as autism assessment. But during my diagnosis assessment chat, when they gave me my diagnosis of autism, they let me know that they believed that I was AuDHD, but I would have had to have then done a separate test, and obviously work had paid privately for this one. So myself, work, my doctors, anyone who needed to really have pretty much accepted it's AuDHD, despite my official diagnosis at the moment being autism. And then at some point down the line, whether it's by myself or through the NHS, I will get the official diagnosis when I think that I've got the time and I'm in the right headspace, because the assessments are very taxing, or at least it was for me. So I wanted to just give a bit more information today about AuDHD, how it's impacted me, why I think that it relates to the significant amount of people who go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed, and how they kind of interact with each other and what impact that has. For me, I think AuDHD is a main reason why I was late diagnosed, because some of the symptoms kind of contradict each other or counteract each other, and that can be deceiving from people looking from the outside, but internally it feels like you are constantly in a battle with yourself. One of the biggest examples of this that I can think of is I used to think that I couldn't be autistic for quite a few reasons. One of the reasons that I believed that I couldn't be autistic was the fact that I very much believed at the time that everybody that had autism were unable to communicate or talk, and I always felt that I had the opposite problem. And don't get me wrong, like I've discussed before, I struggled to make and keep friends. I struggled with communication. I struggled being able to tell if somebody was being sincere or not. I struggled in all aspects of communication. For the talking aspect, I felt I had the opposite problem. I could not stop talking, and it was to my own detriment. I would talk and talk and talk. To try and contextualise this, I have discussed before about my special interest as a child, or later on into secondary school, being Harry Potter. That is not something that you really want to be talking about at that age around your peers, but I could not stop myself. I would talk and talk and talk, and I would be desperate just to shut up and stop talking, but I couldn't help it. And I also struggled with telling people who really had no business knowing my business intimate details about my life. I have suffered some extreme trauma in my life, throughout my life, different traumatic events, and these were things that I would discuss with people that did not have my best interest, were not necessarily my friends. This is something I still struggle with today, because there are things that I just don't understand why you shouldn't be able to talk about them, or that you are not supposed to talk about them, or that they make people feel uncomfortable. And I do think that a lot of that comes to the autism side, although I try to look at it as a positive now, because I'm able to do things like this, and other people might find it uncomfortable or not want to talk about these types of things. But at the same time, the inability to stop talking. But it was difficult. It felt like this constant battle in my mind when I was a child, because I desperately wanted to disappear, but I also couldn't stop myself from talking and acting in this way that drew attention to myself. But that was the last thing that I wanted. So it was internal battles like this that I believe were the ADHD and the autism battling with each other. And because of this, I would have been seen possibly as somebody who was not scared of communicating, who was not scared of talking to my peers, who was very able to communicate and make friends, but in reality didn't have any friends. I wasn't able to communicate effectively. I couldn't have a read on anybody or what they thought about me, and instead I just ended up an outsider who was bullied or ignored because of it. But it will have helped my diagnosis go unnoticed from an outsider's perspective. Another example that I can think of is that I personally hate being late. It stresses me out, the thought of being late. I also have time blindness, but with ADHD, for example, one of the things they will ask is, are you late to events? Do you miss events? Are you time blind? But I wouldn't have thought that I would have fitted into that category. I don't like being late. I am hardly ever late. But then when I think about it, that is because I will make sure that if I have a meeting at 3 o'clock, I won't do anything for the entire day from the minute I get up until 3 o'clock. Everything in my mind and in my day is frozen and waiting for that 3 o'clock meeting. I will make the meeting and I won't be late to the meeting, but I will be frozen in time until that meeting takes place. And I often end up being very early because I lose the concept of how long things take me, so I will overshoot. If somebody needs to be at an event and the normal time to get there would be an hour, I would end up giving myself 4 hours. And it's not even something I'm doing purposefully, it's a genuine fear that I might be late, and I've just got no concept of time or time management. And I do think that it kind of clashes on both ends, because it's not seen as the traditional ADHD, time blindness, always late, missing appointments and events, but also on the overgeneralized autistic side, you have someone who's very good with time management, numbers. Those two things, for me, kind of fight against each other. Another thing I've always really struggled with is routine. I love a routine and I feel so much better when I follow a routine, and I think that definitely traits to my autism, because when I am out of a routine, I am very stressed, I am anxious, I struggle. But on the opposite side of the scale, I struggle to stick to a routine. Whenever I start something, I excel, I do really well. It helps. Say if I decide that I'm going to write a list every day of the things I need to do, that helps me massively, and I might do that for 4 weeks, and even though it's helping me, I'll stop doing it, I'll forget to do it, it just completely leaves me. I stop doing it, and then I'm stressed and I'm anxious, I'm out of my routine. But it's like my brain can't compute or can't make myself do the thing that I know is helping me. And it's like I've said a lot in this video, the two sides of my brain or my diagnosis are battling with each other. My brain knows the things it needs to do, but it can't do them, because even though I probably would be able to handle my autism quite successfully once I knew and do know the things that make things easier for me, the ADHD is there just messing everything up. So it's difficult, and I think it's so tiring and so exhausting, and it also causes so many of those moments when people in your life might say, well, you can do that, so maybe you're not autistic, or well, you were doing this, or you've said this, or you like this. And in general, even if you've just got autism or you've just got ADHD, you will get those comments, because people have a very standard understanding of what they think autism or ADHD looks like, and if they know one person, they tend to think that they know every person, and that is still very prevalent in both of those diagnoses on their own. However, I think when you've got both there and you've got symptoms from both disorders, it definitely increases people's perception of your diagnosis. ADHD is something that we're still learning about. We learn more each day about autism and ADHD, and I think we need to continue this. It's a scary time out there at the moment, all over the world, especially in certain countries, for disabled people on the spectrum, and I just want to make sure that I am always talking about it, always educated. And I do struggle sometimes. I am struggling at the moment. I have wanted to do this video or a video for almost a week to keep up with my consistent uploading. I even got a new mic. You can let me know whether it's okay or not, but I was struggling. I'm still dealing with burnout, so even this video is not gonna be as detailed as I want it to be, and I will revisit this topic, but I just wanted to get something out there because I think that in the climate that we are in, it is so important to keep talking, teaching, learning, listening, and sharing as much information as possible to those who are feeling alone, so that they know that they're not alone. For those who may believe that they have a diagnosis or are going through trauma or struggling with mental illness, I want to be a beacon to say you're not on your own. I am struggling with these things, and I have struggles with these things, and I am still here, and I am still fighting your corner, our corner. And as long as we can continue to talk openly about these topics and not think that they're shameful or something that we shouldn't talk about or embarrassing, then we will be okay. And I really do believe that, and we can educate those who don't understand. There will always be a faction of people who do not want to understand or do not want to learn, but as long as we don't stay quiet and we are open for discussion, and as much as it can be difficult when you get opinions thrown at you that are so wrong or so offensive, I think that it's important that we continue to still, more than ever, teach those people. And if they don't want to listen and they don't want to learn, there is still going to be people out there that will accept that information and will learn from it. And there's always going to be people that need to feel like they have someone out there that understands. So that is everything for now, because I am really struggling to concentrate, and also just, I'm a bit overstimulated and a bit agitated, but I am hopefully going to get this up today or tomorrow, and I will be doing regular uploads as I have discussed, hopefully. But if there's anything that you would like to discuss about AuDHD, or you've got anything else to add, please put it in the comments down below. Like I always say, please, you can have different opinions, but can we keep the comment section a positive place? It's okay to debate, but I don't want any nasty, cruel, offensive happenings in the comments, because I want this to be a safe place for all. And if you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. It would really help the channel. But that is everything for now. Thank you. Bye.